A good ski to you all, and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast, right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I'm occasionally known as your mayor of this joint. This is my vice mayor. He's your thunderstick, the one and only Jesse Friedman. Jesse, of course, we had a move that happened. We knew the Arizona Diamondbacks probably weren't done making moves, but one of those moves that is probably the size that we expected to see from the Diamondbacks at this point?
Yeah. This is something that that we had talked about for a while now, that there was at least a chance, seemed like a pretty good chance that the Diamondbacks would make a trade of some sort, just to kind of help sort through some of the depth options that they had. It didn't really make sense to have both Jake McCarthy and Dominic Fletcher in the organization. They're simply... it's almost hard to make a case that there's a ton of playing time available for one of them, much less both of them. So, the Diamondbacks once again trade from a position of depth. This is the third time that they have traded a left-handed hitting outfielder in a span of about 15 months.
We got tons of those, Jesse. We got a surplus of those.
There have been a lot, and only now are the Diamondbacks at a point where it's like, okay, I think they've done enough. I think they've parted with enough of them that they no longer have this, this crazy imbalance in their organization. I don't think they necessarily have to trade another left-handed hitting outfielder sometime soon. But yeah, Dominic Fletcher was, made a strong impression in his first taste of the majors last year. Certainly hard for fans to see him go, but the Diamondbacks get an interesting guy in return.
And Cristian Mena is a guy that could potentially be a starting pitcher. He has been projected as being potentially a number 4 kind of starting pitcher, and very young. In fact, the youngest player in Major League Baseball to reach AAA last year. So what does that mean?
Not really in Major League Baseball, but the youngest player in minor league baseball.
Well, no, you get what I mean. Okay, I didn't mean like in history, but I just meant that last year he was the youngest player to reach AAA. So what does that mean, and how soon is he going to regret pitching in Reno? Very soon? Immediately? Is there going to be an adjustment period?
That's a fair question, because he is going from the International League to the Pacific Coast League. There's been a lot of offense in the International League, is my understanding as well, but the Pacific Coast League is certainly another animal. So poor Cristian Mena having to pitch it at elevation. It's going to be tougher for sure. But he's an interesting get for the Diamondbacks. This is not, you look at the minor league stats, you might not be too overwhelmed, right? He had a 4.66 ERA in 23 starts in Double-A, 10.7 Ks per nine, 4.3 walks per nine. Some decent strikeout numbers there, a few more walks than maybe you'd like. And then he reached AAA, as you said. He was 20 years old when he reached AAA, which is really impressive just in and of itself. Results there weren't quite as good, a 5.95 ERA, but pretty decent peripherals still, 9.2 strikeouts per nine at the AAA level. And again, maybe a few more walks than you'd like to see. So, yeah, I mean, you think about the Diamondbacks, like the players that they've had, the pitchers, the starting pitchers that they've had break into the majors, they were not this young. Like Cristian Mena has a chance to break into the majors in 2024 at the age of 21. He just turned 21 not that long ago. And anyone really who's able to move through a minor league system as quickly as he has, that's impressive. Like that is a very, very rare thing. And I can understand why the Diamondbacks were interested in him.
On Saturday's audio episode, we talked about the Diamondbacks minor league system and where they are ranked amongst baseball by both ESPN and Baseball America. Not great. We said that there's no real reason.
Middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack, lower third on ESPN's. But this move, he was ranked the number 10 prospect in the White Sox organization by MLB Pipeline, number 9 by Fangraphs, number 8 by Baseball America. So this should help the Diamondbacks farm system, which, like we said, we knew that with the draft and things like that, we were going to see, some great additions. But right now at this point, with the surplus of left-handed outfielders and the value of these young prospects, the value for prospects like Mena are through the roof, especially for a guy that has moved through the minor league system so quickly. So even though it feels like we're giving up a lot in a major leaguer in Dominic Fletcher and giving back this 20-year-old kid that still is unproven, still a pitching prospect, it feels like a very good value for considering right now where Major League Baseball is at with trading prospects. Doesn't seem like teams want to give them up. So it feels like a good move. And it also feels like what you said, it's the Diamondbacks just had weird, not depth issues, but, issues with having too many guys and not really allowing those guys to get the playing time that they deserve. Don Davius with the super chat says, Zach Gallen trade 2.0. Let me be delusional. Go on, my king. You can go on and be as delusional as you want to be, because who knows? The sky's the limit for this kid. The numbers aren't great, like you said, but right now
the strikeout numbers are pretty impressive.
Damn good. Yeah, right. What was it? Like nearly 11 strikeouts per 9?
Yeah.
Like 10.8.
Yeah, 10. Yeah, we have 10.7 in AA and then 9.2 in AAA. That's a pretty small sample size. But yeah, I mean, Mike Hazen has been really, ever since he arrived in Arizona, he's been in the business of trying to acquire players before they become players, right? That's correct. What Mike Hazen has done. Obviously, he's not the only one. Other 29 other GMs are trying to do the same thing.
Sure.
But you think back to some of the bigger moves that Mike Hazen has made, a lot of them revolve around that strategy, right? Some of them have worked, like Zach Gallen, like Gabriel Moreno.
Absolutely.
Some of them not so much. Luke Weaver, the D-backs had a lot of faith in, of course. Carson Kelly. Neither of those guys really proved to be exactly what the Diamondbacks were hoping for. But yeah, I mean, that's what Mike Hazen is trying to do. And I think he said it to Nick Piccoro and Steve Gilbert in an interview right after this move was made. This is a type of player where they get considerably more difficult to acquire once they arrive in the majors and have a little bit of success. If you have a young starting pitcher, especially a 21-year-old starting pitcher, come up to the majors and have some success.
With all those years of control?
Yeah, with all the years of control and how affordable it is, suddenly you're not talking about trading Dominic Fletcher for that player. You're talking about trading, one of the centerpieces of your franchise for that player. And so Mike Hazen is trying to get ahead of that. We'll have to wait and see how this pans out. But there's a lot to like about Mena, I think. The curveball seems to be kind of his primary weapon, the thing that he's been known for most. He added a slider in 2022, I believe I read. That's a more recent development. He has a changeup as well. His fastball is in the low 90s, touches mid 90s. It sounds like the Diamondbacks are expecting that to increase potentially, as he's still as young as he is. So there's a lot to like about the profile for sure.
Eric brought up a brief Estanuel Rivera comment. He said, have you guys been watching the Caribbean series? Emmanuel Rivera is batting .384 with 2 walks and 2 RBI.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not surprised. There's just been something at times special about that guy. And
born hitter Emmanuel Rivera.
Oh, the best. He's the best. But we are giving up the greatest Italian baseball player of all time, as we have discussed. From the minute Dominic Fletcher became part of the Major League roster, we knew he was special, especially because Jesse was there when he told the story of picking up Panda Express when he got the call up, right? Here's what he had to say. We still have that video.
Panda Express was your celebratory meal last night?
No, so I had just picked it up previous to getting the call. So shout out to Panda Express.
How did that man not get free Panda Express
for life
ads,
with that? Derek,
come on. I didn't say it. He did. I just introed the video.
I love that was like the Dominic Fletcher brand. Like when he arrived in the majors, I was there, as you said.
Yep.
It was in Denver. This was right after, I believe, maybe the day after Corbin Carroll had suffered that knee injury. The Diamondbacks wanted extra coverage in the outfield. Jake McCarthy had just been sent down. The stars had kind of aligned for Dominic Fletcher to actually get an opportunity in the majors. And to what you called him earlier, he was the greatest Italian baseball player of all time for about like 15 days.
He was.
Dominic Fletcher in his first.
By the way, Elise is throwing shade on Emmanuel Rivera's name here. She said, yes, he's having the one good month at the plate, LOL. But that could be said about Dominic Fletcher when he came up because, boy, was he lit things on fire for those first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He was super hot.
He was hot.
Then he came
insane.
back down to earth, but that first 2 weeks was incredible.
In his first 12 games with the Diamondbacks, Fletcher slashed 462, 488, 744. So that's an OPS north of 1,200, if my math is correct.
Yeah.
With 2 homers and 13 RBI in 43 plate appearances. He was kind of a big deal for a while. And of course, in that small of a sample, you didn't really know if it was going to last. Ultimately, it didn't. He really struggled. Didn't get much opportunity, just around 100 plate appearances total. He really struggled the rest of the way, didn't get much opportunity in the majors at all. But yeah, the reality is that Dominic Fletcher was just going to have a really hard time finding playing time with the Diamondbacks. He was blocked by, him and Jake McCarthy. I guess we're going to come into spring training and, fight it out for maybe a 4th outfielder spot. I'm not even really convinced that having a left-handed hitting 4th outfielder makes sense for the Diamondbacks, given that Alec Thomas, Corbin Carroll, and Jock Peterson are all already left-handed. So it was already going to be kind of clunky. This makes sense for the Diamondbacks. When you have a surplus in one area, you use it to try to make an addition elsewhere, and that's what the Diamondbacks did.
Well, and I think he's going to be a great addition to a White Sox team that has certain members, including Mr. Josh Barfield, that are very familiar.
Yes.
With
Shout
Dominic
out Josh
Fletcher.
Barfield, who I imagine had a not insignificant role to play
right?
in this trade.
I'm sure he had a little bit there. Stephen Bardo with the super chat. Thank you so much. He said, "Sup, big Sox fan. Happy to have Dom Fletcher. You guys got yourself a good one, and somebody honestly who deserves that playing time that team is going to be able to provide him, and a guy that." Like somebody in the chat said, he looks like an orange chicken guy. What are you thinking? Are we thinking a 2-plate combo Beijing beef orange chicken?
That was a miss on my part, not asking what his order was.
That's got to be a follow-up.
It's got to be the orange chicken because I'm not sure I know a single person that goes to Panda Express and doesn't get at least one serving of orange chicken. Really? What's your order?
Hate orange chicken. I get the teriyaki chicken Beijing beef combo. If you get teriyaki chicken,
you're a
The
monster.
teriyaki chicken is
Panda
good.
Express, they will give you a ton of it. It's absurd how much.
Well, they
teriyaki
give you a
chicken.
ton of anything.
Everything. Yeah, that's true.
It's delightful.
Oh my God, Max is going to be so mad at us.
No,
for
yeah,
this.
no
We
free
need to
ad-
just
no free
move
ads.
on as soon as possible. But
He was better than Joe DiMaggio, who's probably the best Italian player.
maybe Ralph Hamsden said that this was David DeLucci erasure, and he might not be wrong about that. So sorry, we do love us some David DeLucci around here. You know who we don't love anymore, though, Jesse? Mookie Betts.
I mean, I don't think Diamondbacks fans ever loved Mookie Betts per se. But
I have definitely said at times that Mookie Betts and the rest of those damn Dodgers, they're hard to dislike. They are hard to dislike. And I say that because
That's fair.
typically they're very nice people. We've had a fun relationship with them. Corbin Carroll and Zach Gallen both went on Mookie Betts' podcast and had a great time, right? We know Mookie Betts just in general is kind of a delightful person. And Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani, it's like the most powerful, least hateable team you've ever seen. But Mookie Betts is trying to change that very much. He's trying to change that, Jesse. Here's what he had to say about teams facing the Dodgers next year.
I mean, every game is going to be the other team's World Series. I mean, it is what it is. It's what we signed up for. You know?
Oh, you're going to regret that one, pal.
did he really say that?
Can
I
we
don't
play it
know.
again?
I don't know
Again.
if I believe it.
He absolutely did.
Let's play it again.
I mean, every game is going to be the other team's World Series. I mean, it is what it is. It's what we signed up for, you know? And so
It is what it is. It is what we signed
Them's
up for.
the rules, Derek.
Them's the rules.
That's just the way it is.
The audacity of a man who in his last 13 playoff games has a 158 batting average in the postseason, Jesse. In his last 13 postseason games, he has a 158. So if that's the case, yes, I hope every team plays the Dodgers like it's the World Series because it means Mookie Betts is going to hit the ball 16% of the time.
I have a couple of problems with this.
Go off, my king.
First of all, this is baseball, right? Where even if you do add a player like Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto, you make all the additions that you made. If the Dodgers are better than any other team in the majors, the margin is not that big, I think there's a very serious debate to be had over whether the Dodgers are even the best team in the National League, right? There's this team called the Atlanta Braves that is very, very formidable as well, right? I think you could very much have a debate over which of those two teams is actually the better team heading into 2024. The other fact is that, I mean, to say that like a series in July that, you know, the Reds are playing with the Dodgers is like that team's World Series. There's 162 of these games, right? That's just not like a concept that exists within the sport of baseball. Until you get like to the very end of the season, those games are certainly important. But to say that like, you know, every time a team plays the Dodgers, it has the magnitude of the World Series is an utterly outrageous claim. You know, even though the Dodgers are a good team and teams are certainly going to want to succeed against them, none of those games are going to really be all that much more important than all of the other games that they play. I don't know why Mookie Betts said this. This is the kind of thing that can only backfire on you. And this is usable for any game during the entire season that a team wins against the Dodgers. You can absolutely use this and use it to roast the Dodgers, which will certainly happen. Not to mention what could happen if the Dodgers, like in the postseason, have some slip-ups or whatnot. There is nothing good that can come from this, Derek. I am pretty dumbfounded that someone who has the emotional intelligence of Mookie Betts actually went out and said this on television.
As a man, there it is. There it is. Jesse Freeman.
I love it.
As a man who often doesn't intend to say stupid things when he's on a show, I can relate a little bit to Mookie Betts. I'd like to take this opportunity right now to go ahead and pronounce the words compensatory and perforated while we're on the subject.
Mookie Betts isn't the only one who's made a fool of himself on the air.
That is right. However, what I will say is that, like, I get what he's saying. He's basically saying now, with the challenge that is the Dodgers, every team is going to ramp up and play their best when they're bringing it to the Dodgers, right? So it's going to be playing teams that do. I mean, they might come into that series like, you know, struggling, but it's the Dodgers, and the way the Dodgers are playing, they're going to bring everything that they can. They're going to try to even schedule their best pitchers for those series and things. There's things like that are going to happen. So he's not wrong, but in saying it, the arrogance is just,
there's a lot of
it's there in spades. It's like it's just the most baseball hubris you've ever heard in your life. Baseball is a game where anything could happen, and the Dodgers are a team that have experienced it. That's the point. That's what like is most hilarious to me, right? The baseball gods are real. They're real. There's 15 of them. It's a council. They're very, very angry people, and you do not want to meet them. But if you piss them off, they will make a fool of you. And it feels like at times that's what the Dodgers are constantly asking from of the baseball gods. They have, like I said, they were a team that bounced back better than most franchises could have from the things that they experienced over the last 2 seasons, just with some of their best pitchers and things like that, you know, committing crimes, I guess you could say, or being accused of crimes, you know, injuries, losses, like all sorts of things. They've gone through their ups and downs. They've lost some of their best players to free agency, and they just have rebounded back year after year better than any team can during the regular season. During the postseason, they are a completely different team, and I'm not even going to get into all that because the data is there. But Mookie, you're hitting 158. Get out of here. You're hitting 158, okay, in your last 13 games. I don't want to hear from you about the postseason play or how teams are going to step up to play the Dodgers.
If I could show highlights, I would definitely show the highlight of Gabby Moreno right now.
Team Shop got an interesting piece of merchandise that we're going to share with you guys here in a little bit that you might want to all run out and buy. But
I still don't believe it's real.
It's real, damn it. It is real. But we thank you guys for being here right now on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. Leave us a thumbs up. We always appreciate that. Gabby loves it when you leave a thumbs up. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side of things, make sure you leave us a review. We appreciate you guys doing that. Those 5-star reviews really help us out. And we also love it if you subscribe over there as well. Again, talked about updating your home in 2024, and a great way to do so is with our friends at Empire Today. Empire Today has been a Valley staple for years. You know the jingle, you know the people, and you know what they do, which is quality work. They're all about you shopping at home. That's the best thing is this is 2024 and there's no reason to go into a showroom or have to go wait for hours around to see samples. They have a shopping at home convenience, and that's what they are big on. They will allow you to use their virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how the new floors will look in any space. It's easy. All you have to do is snap a picture and instantly see how the new floors will look in your room. They also make sure it gets installed properly, and they do service their own warranties, so you never have to chase down half a dozen people in order to get things fixed. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions do apply. See EmpireToday.com/PHNX for details. By the way, Circle K is everywhere. You know that. It's like I wished the other day when we were out at Phoenix Raceway for Circle K to be somewhere near me, and then it just popped up magically.
It was right there.
It was right there. It was right there. And it was the cheapest gas that I passed the entire time as well. And that's, of course, what Circle K does. Of course, if you want to save even more money, you can join their Inner Circle program for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions do apply. Participating locations, visit CircleK.com for details. But when you do, you will receive 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. You also will receive 3 cents off per gallon on all of your fill-ups after that. It does stack, so if you have their Easy Pay card, you'll get that 10 cents off and the 25 cents off for those 5 fill-ups. So make sure to save yourself some money. You can also stop inside, get yourself some snacks. They have free snacks in the app all the time, free coupon offers, and of course they have the buy 5, get a 6th one free on drinks, pizza, coffee, all sorts of stuff. So make sure to stop by Circle K today. Well, Jesse, of course, it is February. And
it is, apparently.
It's a Monday. But you know on this show that every month on this show is Black History Month, not just February. We celebrate everybody every month all the time around here. Every week on this show is Shark Week. We celebrate sharks, big fans of sharks, even though we also like snakes, and it's a snake podcast, but it's a whole thing. We're also, every day is Earth Day, because we love the earth. We're big fans of it. This is where we live. But on Mondays, we're big fans of you guys and your mail. And that is why we have a Mailbag Monday every Monday. Jacob, do you mind hitting that song, please?
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox. And then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow, my mailbox.
Took a second, but yeah, it came around. What do we got for our first piece of mail? Comes from our baby boy, Aaron Hughes. And Aaron, he went with the white again. It's so bright and off-putting. Jacob, what are you doing here? We do dark mode.
My job, Derek.
All right. Aaron Hughes says, how do we feel about Adam Duvall, potential platoon at-bat that can play the field and will give our bench a lot more depth? Not that expensive. I like the fit.
Yeah, I like the fit too. I mean, if
a little too much, maybe?
I don't think the Diamondbacks are going to spend much money from this point forward, if I'm being honest. So I think from that point, from that perspective, it's probably a non-starter. I do like the fit. I mean, I think if you were doing this, you're probably having Jacob McCarthy start in AAA, which I don't think is a situation the Diamondbacks are necessarily wanting at this point. I mean, because at that point you just have so many outfielders on the roster. Like you can't have your 3 starting outfielders plus Jake McCarthy plus Adam Duvall plus Jock Peterson. I think that's probably just one too many guys at that position. So from a roster construction standpoint, I think it makes sense, but I doubt the money is going to be there. And I don't think the Diamondbacks will deem this important enough at the end of the day.
Is the desire to have a platoon at bat really there in regards to the DH? Do you really think it's a necessity that the Diamondbacks will pursue, or at this point, is it just not the kind of thing that they want to pay for? Yeah,
I don't think it's not an absolute necessity. I mean, you can kind of string it together and make it work. There's more right-handed pitchers than left-handed pitchers, as we said earlier. I still really like the idea of them adding, a solid right-handed bat. A guy who maybe is more so a bench player than anything else. But yeah, I mean, Adam Duvall would be a good candidate. He did have reverse splits in 2023. Usually that's not a sustainable thing. It probably would still make some sense for him to step into that role. But my sense of the situation is that the Diamondbacks aren't paying not necessarily a ton of attention being paid to this at this point. I think Mike Hazen did mention, a right-handed bat at one point, but Adam Duvall is probably a step higher than where I would expect them to aim.
And also there is the roster spot, right? Like that when you start looking at adding other guys, you do have to start asking, who's going to go, where are they going to fit in on the roster, who has those options left. And I mean, it comes down to, is the addition that much better than some of the options the Diamondbacks possibly have? It's better, but is it worth the money and the roster complications from that point going forward?
Yeah. Duvall can play the outfield actually pretty well. He's not as defensively limited as a Jock Peterson. So it does make some sense. But again, I think that, Jake is probably the guy who makes the team as the fourth outfielder. I'm not sure they're really looking to supplant him by bringing in someone else at the same position.
All right. Next question, Jacob, comes from our guy, Superbad7676 on Twitter.
Did you use my real name?
Did I say Jacob?
You did.
Oh, that's gross.
It's a little weird.
That. Shut
up.
Get back behind the computer.
We don't do
Fosh.
that.
I am still behind the computer just talking.
Just get back there. Just stop it. All right. Kenny asks, what do you predict for shortstop this season? Who will be the starter at the start of the season and who will be at the end? And I think Kenny might be alluding there a little bit to maybe Perdomo starting and ending things with Jordan Lawler. How likely do you think that is?
It's really hard to say.
Right.
I think it's possible is really all I can say on that. Geraldo Perdomo is probably the most likely option to start the season as like the everyday shortstop.
Sure.
He was an all-star. He was a big factor for the Diamondbacks in the playoffs. I don't see a reason to assume that Jordan Lawler is going to supplant him necessarily. But yeah, I mean, in the long term, Jordan Lawler I think his ceiling is pretty clearly higher than that of Geraldo Perdomo. If he becomes the player that the Diamondbacks would like him to become, maybe he does step in as kind of the everyday shortstop at some point, and that would allow Perdomo to serve in more of a utility role, which I think would suit him really well.
I think the problem here, if I'm being honest, is Gino. Eugenio Suarez, right? He solves their problem at third base. And now Jordan Lawler doesn't have that ability to, if Perdomo's playing well, kind of fall into that third base maybe at time or whatever. It almost is an all or nothing kind of thing now for shortstop. They're probably not going to have Jordan Lawler on the roster behind Perdomo on the bench, right? So it's going to be one of those situations where Perdomo most likely does start the season. And Jordan Lawler might start the season in AAA. It's probably the best that he does so that he continues to get daily at-bats and continues to play all the time, right? But if for some reason Perdomo does start to struggle offensively and we see Jordan Lawler have a strong season in Reno, we could see them potentially make at least a move to bring Lawler up and maybe start him and then have Perdomo behind him a little bit. But I don't know how that would work out. Like you said, Perdomo was an all-star last year. It's hard to imagine that, he's going to play badly enough that they're going to replace him with Lawler. I don't know. I mean, anything could happen, but I just don't forecast that. So it's hard to imagine what it's going to be like, at the end of the year. Last year, though, I mean, how the season ended up at the end of the year was nothing like we would have imagined it from the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah, Perdomo would make a really fantastic utility player in my view. I mean, he plays shortstop well. He's not elite there, but he's totally solid at shortstop. I think he plays second base well. I think he plays third base reasonably well also. I mean, he's kind of exactly what you're looking for, I think, in that role. As a starting shortstop, I could see Geraldo Perdomo being a pretty solid starting shortstop, in the long term as well. But Jordan Lawler, if all goes well, could be an emerging star who takes that spot sooner than later.
All right, what else we got? Faj, Arizona _GOAT, the Donkey Whisperer says, does Christian Walker have the cleanup spot secured? I say no. Jock Peterson and Gabby Moreno could both perhaps be more effective. The 4-hole, I don't. Honestly, I think you're absolutely right there. I don't think anybody has anything secured. I think that what we saw out of Torey Lovullo and what we've seen out of him in his years of managing this team is he does have a plan for the most part that he sticks to, but and sometimes to a fault, right when he has when he decides when guys are going to get a day off, and no matter how hot they are, they're getting that day off. You also have this factor that he does pivot on his lineup a lot, and he's not going to give any one player, I think, anything. Like everybody has to earn something on this team. And I think if anybody's playing better than, another player, their job isn't secure. Their position in the starting lineup isn't secure. I mean, there are some guys, obviously, that have that locked up. But again, even if those guys play poorly next year, there's a chance someone could replace them. So I don't think in a Torey Lovullo starting lineup, anything is given, anything is secured. And it's all depending on what's working for the team.
Yeah, I think I was trying to play around with this the other day. Like, what does the lineup against righties look like? Of course, that's going to be Jock Peterson's bread and butter. That's what he's here for.
He's got to hit fourth in that lineup.
Yeah, I have him fourth. I have my guesstimate was Corbin Carroll at leadoff, Ketel Marte in the 2-hole. I guess those guys are sort of interchangeable.
Sarah, those the only two, those are the two solidified spots, right? Like in either righty or lefty, I imagine it's probably Corbin, Ketel.
That's who I want at the top.
Yeah. In the playoffs, they alternated. Where against a righty, it would be Corbin at the first in the 1 hole, and then Ketel Marte. And against a lefty, they switched those guys around. I don't know if they would continue to do that, but yeah, I think those guys in the 1 spot and the 2 spot makes a lot of sense. The 3 hole in the lineup is really what's the most interesting to me. Gabby Moreno was the 3 hitter throughout the majority of the postseason after Tommy Pham had kind of fallen out of that spot with Christian Walker batting cleanup. I don't know if the Diamondbacks will want Gabby Moreno to hit third against righties necessarily. His numbers were certainly much better against lefties in the regular season. So Gabby Moreno is kind of the big variable here. If he hits third, then Christian Walker probably does hit fourth, and then Jock Peterson slots in where Alec Thomas was for part of the playoffs in the number 5 spot. But if you have Gabby lower in the lineup, then you're probably looking at maybe Christian Walker hitting third, and then Jock Peterson in the cleanup spot. So we'll get to know more about what Torey is planning here over the course of spring training.
I can't wait. I bet Torey can't wait. I bet Torey looks at all these new pieces and is just...
He's just been fumbling with lineup cards.
God,
for the last
you know
2
what
months.
I mean? Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, think about it. At times, the man has had to be very creative with his lineup. He's had to try to figure things out.
I'm excited.
He's had a lot of good number 2 hitters, but at times he hasn't had this many weapons. I don't know if he's ever had this many weapons in his time as manager of this team. It's going to be just an exciting season to watch.
It's a really complete lineup against righties, like just in general. There are no weak links in that lineup at this point.
And I just got to say something, man. I really like the answers I heard out of Jock Peterson. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of poking fun, I guess, to be had there at Jock Peterson. There's a lot of, especially the Tommy Pham jokes, which I've gotten my fair share in, absolutely. But I mean, when I was listening to him give his answers, I felt like he was just a little bit of a determined guy. He posted this incredible Instagram post today. It's a Photoshop of him in the purple jersey with the vest on his Instagram. He picked the right one. He picked he is all in. And I think that, this might be one of those years where people are talking about what a bounce back season Jock Peterson had with the Diamondbacks, because it does really feel like he's coming in here reinvigorated a bit, and excited to contribute to this team. He also seems excited to, kind of prove himself, not just assume that he's going to come in here and be given anything, but he wants to prove himself. He wants to prove that he can hit against lefties. He wants to prove that he can play the outfield. And I'm all for it, man. I love a good redemption story. So let's go, Jock. I'm all for it. All right, what else we got? All right, this one comes from Travis Moore. Moore, for me, he asks, does Tommy Troy contribute this season at the major league level? What position is he ideally playing? Travis goes on to be an absolute star to say, also, deep dish is pizza, not a casserole. Fight me, Sean DePaz. Neapolitan pizza is overrated and is mostly an expensive glorified appetizer. I think Chris Bianco will fight you over that. And then he went on to say AZ is not New York, but still has, I think he said, pretty good pizza on the rest of it. And it does have good pizza. I'll defend the pizza here. I love the pizza here. It's not terrible. It's not bad. There's good pizza to be had from all sorts of parts of the world, too. That's the best part. Arizona's a melting pot. We got stuff from Chicago. We got stuff from all over. But going back to his question, Tommy Troy, do you see him happening this year? And where does he play? Again, we talked about some of those infield issues.
Yeah, I would probably lean on it being 2025 at this point. Not to say it's impossible that Tommy Troy could find his way into the majors. He was drafted out of college, went to Stanford. I think he projects as a pretty fast riser through the system, but he just reached high A toward the end of 2023. I'm not sure you project him all the way to the big leagues just yet. So not impossible, but I think it's at least it could happen, but not something I'm necessarily counting on. As far as his position goes, I think in the long term, you probably want Tommy Troy to be your answer at third base. In the long term, that's kind of the big question that this team still has. So yeah, there are a lot of places he could play where he's valuable, right? I mean, maybe there's opportunity for him at shortstop, which is the position he's been playing primarily in the minors. Second base, I think, is a position he could play as well. So we'll see how it turns out. But third base is certainly where the Diamondbacks have the most questions long term.
So if you're asking me when I think he comes up, I think it's at the end of 2025. Like the Corbin Carroll, Jordan Lawler call up towards the end of the season. Maybe the Diamondbacks don't bring Suarez back for the third year, right? He has an option in the third season.
He has an option for 2025.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So 2020
for the second. So the second season.
Yeah. Okay. The second season is an option. So after that, technically, if the Diamondbacks don't extend him or anything, which they probably most likely won't, then maybe in 2025 or in 2026, that's when Tommy Troy would be the everyday regular third baseman for this team.
Yeah.
I think it could be that because there is going to be a point where this team is going to have to figure out what they're going to do to replace potentially Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. There is going to be a little bit potentially of a rebuild phase right then in 2026. So it's a good time for maybe a young player like that to get an opportunity to be their everyday starting third baseman. So we'll see what happens there. Now it's time for the most important question of the entire day, and there's no doubt about it. Of course, it comes from the Burrito Sore, a.k.a.
It's
Elizabeth.
small on the screen. I'm sorry.
God, you're terrible at
well,
this.
I had to include the whole thing.
You did not need to include the whole thing.
I did. The picture's important.
It is kind of important. You're right. But it originated with an NBA Paint question or Twitter question. And Elizabeth asks, inspired by the NBA Paint gem, which Sesame Street characters would you want on your baseball team? God, that's a good question.
Sesame Street was required viewing in my house.
We are both.
For as uncultured as I am, I did watch me some Sesame Street.
On the Venn diagram of me and Jesse, Sesame Street it's baseball and Sesame Street in the middle. That's it, pretty much. That's what the overlapping circles are. Of course, based on the literary classic that everyone has read, Big Bird at Bat.
Yeah, Big Bird throws gas or hits
We know
bombs.
that Big Bird is going to absolutely be DH first baseman, right?
Sure.
I want Big Bird on my team.
Yeah. Hits lefties and righties.
He absolutely does.
Maybe a switch hitter. I don't know.
Maybe. He rakes though.
Count Von Count as the umpire
of course
is just too easy.
It's too obvious,
just
right?
So easy. Yeah.
Strike one. Ha ha ha.
He would
strike two.
He would thrive. He would be. He would
have such a good time.
Living his best life. Sure.
Big Bird's friend Snuffleupagus, pitcher, right? He throws gas. The trunk angle. His trunk angle is incredible. Like it's none other coming off the mound.
That's the equivalent for arm angle.
Yeah, trunk angle. Of course he throws it with his trunk. He's an elephant. He's a fuzzy elephant. He's a mammoth, actually, is what he is.
Fair enough. I feel like Oscar the Grouch has to be in there somewhere.
Third base coach.
Bad boy, third base coach.
Driving him in.
He just doesn't have the right mentality.
He has the right mentality. He has a fighter mentality. I'll tell you, he'd be out there arguing with these umpires left and right. That's for sure. He'd be giving count to business.
You would.
Is Elmo the manager?
True.
Elmo, no, because Elmo's got speed. I need Elmo in right field, and I need Elmo.
He gives me Tory vibes.
Elmo gives you Tory vibes.
I don't know. I mean, Elmo does bring everybody together, that's for sure. But I have Bert and Ernie in the infield because they are a double play threat.
Yeah, that's your shortstop second base combo for sure.
Right. Ernie's mischievous, just like Ketel Marte loves playing practical jokes. So you know that would be
sure
absolute fire. Grover Grover's a good third baseman. I'm going Cookie Monster as our catcher.
Okay, sure.
I mean, come on, Cookie Monster. Have you seen him? He's got a lot of space.
As long as Snuffleupagus is throwing cookies, I think that will go well.
Right. Okay. I think we nailed this one.
He'd have to have a new cookie every time because Cookie Monster would eat it before he'd throw it back.
Benjamin Hunley wants some ex-WOBA numbers on the Sesame Street guys, so that's going to be you're going to have to.
Yeah, we're gonna when Damon gets back from the Super Bowl, we're gonna have him make savant pages for every single Sesame Street character, and it's gonna be amazing. Yeah. So stay tuned.
You know who the journalist is, right? The on-scene reporter. It's Kermit. Remember?
Oh, sure.
Hi, Kermit the Frog here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Ask good questions.
I need this in my life. Now all I want is Sesame Street baseball in some form. I hate when we do this. If I had more money, Jesse, I would bankroll this 100%. I would be the producer on it. A great way for me maybe to get some more money is with BetMGM. I tried to hit on the Suns game. I nailed everything. It was a 5-leg parlay.
Wow.
I had the Suns. I took the Suns spread, 11 points. I took Bradley Beal because he was returning to Washington, D.C. on the over, 19 points.
Money.
It was easy money. He had 40 by the third quarter. Jesse, I took the halftime spread of 6.5 points. The Suns were up by way more than that. And then you know what I took, Jesse? I took Aaron Gordon getting 9 lousy points. That's all I needed out of you. 9 lousy points. And you got 7 lousy points. 7 points.
So you didn't win this parlay,
I did not turn my $25 into like $400 some odd dollars. It was
wait, was it Aaron Gordon? Is he?
Did I say Aaron Gordon? I said Eric Gordon. I thought I said
Eric Gordon. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, why are you betting on Aaron Gordon?
No, I wouldn't have bet on Aaron Gordon. Eric Gordon. And I shouldn't bet on Eric Gordon either, but you should maybe make better choices than I did. I was going to bet on the over for Booker, and he didn't hit that either. It seemed like no matter who I was going to add to that parlay wasn't going to come through, but maybe you make yourself a smaller same game parlay and you can hit. What you can do is sign up for BetMGM right now and use our bonus code of PHNX. If you do and you place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the mobile application for at least $5, you will receive $158 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details, and now listen to Damon talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Finish drinking your water.
Yeah, I'm
good.
Yeah.
That was really poor timing.
Puerto Rico. We had enough distractions.
Perfect.
We got it anyway. We still got it. Of course. Recently found out, I was shamed last time I talked about it, but spring training right around the corner, and you can get your tickets through Game Time. You can get your tickets to all sorts of events, shows, concerts, movies, musicals. It doesn't matter what. Game Time has your back for last-minute ticket deals. They have the best last-minute ticket deals, and they are the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the app today. Use our promo code of PHNX, and when you do, you create an account and use that bonus code, you will get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Very aesthetically pleasing, very easy to use. And of course, they got your back. They'll get you those last minute tickets. Speaking of having our back, we appreciate those of you that are PHNX diehard members that do already have our back and are part of our family. Of course, if you want to join us over here, make sure to grab yourself a PHNX diehard membership today. Go to gophnx.com. You'll get all of Jesse's writing. You get access to our Discord lounge. This is the week Squeeze Play makes its debut. Come watch Cogs and 2 other lucky contestants join him. I'm going to be picking those contestants this week on this show. So make sure if you want to partake in our Squeeze Play game, our first inaugural edition of Squeeze Play, you first have to be a diehard, and then you have to join us here on this show. I'm going to pick one of you to play against Cogs, maybe 2 of you. I'm thinking I'm going to be a 3-person show. And then join us Thursday. Thursday is the day where we are going to play some Squeeze Play over on the Discord lounge. So, of course, if you are not a diehard, get down on this to join in on all the fun. And, of course, the Discord lounge is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. So make sure to join us today. We got some more Mailbag Monday questions. Jacob, a.k.a. Faj, what do we have? He looks at me every single time like, oh my God, I can't believe you used my government name. Cogs asks on Twitter, he asks, I'll pose the question officially. Would you rather spend 5 minutes in a tub full of crickets or 5 minutes in a tub full of snakes? Apparently, this was a discussion topic at Cogs's birthday party, which we missed.
Yes, very.
Did you get an invite? I mean, I got a last minute invite, but I didn't get like I didn't get the mailed invite in the mail. I didn't get anything like that.
I was a little under the weather over the weekend.
Oh yeah,
kind of still am. Hence the fact that I sound like 70% of myself right now.
It's terrible.
But yes, it looked like a lot of fun. I saw pictures in the Discord.
So. Okay, so we got to get to the question. The question is: tub full of crickets, tub full of snakes.
Are those my only two options? That's it. Are the snakes venomous?
We've discussed this, and no, they are not. We cannot put your life at risk.
Okay, good.
However, whatever else happens to you. Like whatever, like that's a definite question that you need to think about here. Snakes are snakes. I get along with snakes. Hence some of the fun interactions we've had in the clubhouse, right?
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't say I necessarily get along with snakes. I haven't had a whole lot of time to befriend any. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I could, and there's something less intimidating about the idea of there being just a few snakes versus if it's a tub of crickets, like that's
thousands of crickets.
That's a lot of crickets. Yeah. And I know they're not going to hurt me, but just being in a tub with thousands of any one insect like that is just terrifying in general.
Have you seen how crickets lay their eggs?
I haven't.
Yeah.
No.
They go and they find a hole and they lay their eggs in like a hole. They're going to go into your ear. They're going to go up your nose. They're going to lay eggs in your head, Jesse.
I guess you'd have to wear like a full bodysuit.
That is the one. I am not letting crickets lay eggs in my face. So for that reason, it's the snakes. I'll take the snakes every time.
A snake can't go up your nose?
Can a snake go up my nose, Jacob? I mean, it would already have to be a very small cricket in order for it to do that.
Correct. So even if you're assuming that they can go in your nose and your ears and lay eggs, then you have to assume the snakes can too.
I do not assume that. I absolutely do not assume that.
Is that the snakes and the crickets are the same size?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
I don't think that's supposed to be part of this.
But crickets are too big to go in your nose?
I'm going with Jesse's theory here that even if they don't go in any of my orifices, even if none of these animals enter me at all, Jacob, then I am in fact going with the snakes still, because the crickets, it's like a million crickets. I'm not.
Yeah, it's something unsettling about just being they'd be all over your face, and the snakes, you could go in there and you could talk to them and you could hold them.
You guys are crazy.
It could be a very wholesome experience.
Snakes can feel cool. Snakes are cool. Snakes are different. Crickets are gross. It's just a bug. It's a bug. It's a gross bug that makes lots of sounds. All those chirping in your ear, that's enough to drive me nuts. Okay. This is grossing me out, and we need to move on. Let's not talk about gross bugs and stuff anymore. What else we got? Oh, damn it. It's the same question, basically. No. So Don's Bread asks, if you had to bet on a D-backs player to win Fear Factor, who would it be? Jesse had to ask me before the show, what is Fear Factor? So for Jesse and those of you, I have to do that. I reveal all of this stuff. But of course, Fear Factor, it was a game show. It's hosted by Joe Rogan. That's not important. But what is important is it was like an escalating series of fearful events. Sometimes they had them be like on a high rise kind of thing because of heights. Sometimes they had them sitting in a tub full of crickets or snakes or terrible things. A lot of times they had them eating disgusting stuff, like gross, disgusting stuff. And it's those last two reasons that my choice is Joe Mantiply. Now, Joe Mantiply basically lives in like a cow.
That's a good call.
Cow farm, slaughterhouse kind of situation, right? He does a lot of stuff with animals. He's like a big into hunting. So I don't think he's going to mind any of the stuff. There's not going to be something gross because he's probably eaten every part of the cow, parts we don't even want to think about having to eat or try.
Yeah, Andrew Chafin would have been a really good choice if he were still.
He'd have done anything.
He would have done it.
He would have done it
happily. He would have done it happily.
Yeah, Geraldo Perdomo, just the fearless vibes, the leadership qualities.
Absolutely not. There is something that Geraldo Perdomo is scared of, and they will find it. It doesn't matter what it is. He might get through the eating the gross animal thing. He might even get through like, oh, we're gonna put you bees on and a thing on your head and bees around you. But he's gonna like be terrified of heights. And they're gonna make him walk across like from one building to the next, and he is gonna run for his life.
Corbin,
he's
your leader.
Corbin,
he would do anything.
Corbin, see, okay.
He's like a robot. He's just like bad.
I think it was a John Wayne quote, but like courage is fearing something but saddling up anyway, right? Like being fearful but saddling up anyway. That's true courage. That is Corbin. Corbin is going to be like, there is no way I'm getting punked out on this show. Like he will do it just out of spite and not letting people down. He's a great pick. That's a great pick. Great selection. You got anyone else?
I feel like Ryan Thompson would be a solid choice. Good size, just fearless character on the mound. That's always the vibes that he exudes when he's out there.
I mean, if that's the case, then it has to be Kevin Ginkel. It has to be Kevin Ginkel for sure. Yeah. Ernesto said it in the chat. Ginkel for sure. That's absolutely a great pick.
The quickest person out would have been Eduardo Escobar. Like in terms of former players.
Ketel Marte.
All they have to do is pull a cat out and he's done.
No, oh yeah, that's true.
It would have been an easy
and that's an exposed like
that's
fear.
Brutal.
Yeah, because everybody knows that you're scared of that. Yeah, you know, you're right. Ketel like reminds me of the kind of guy that the minute that you're like, you have to eat bull testicles, he would be like, no, and then be out. Like, no, I'm not. Like, it's not that I'm scared of it. I'm just not going to do that thing. I refuse to.
Going with more of the baseball narratives, I feel like Andrew Saalfrank deserves a shout out, just given the many precarious situations that he was asked to pitch in down the stretch. All right, base is loaded, nobody out. Go get him, kid. Right? How many times did we see that play out with Andrew Saalfrank?
We're gonna have you wrestle a lion.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, whatever, bring it on.
He's been through this before.
I love it. All right, what else we got? Michael Rokicki asks a professional wrestling question, Jesse, so you can take a powder on this one. He says, I have an analogy for Derek. Getting hyped for JD only to end up with Jock is like getting hyped for Cody, meaning Cody Rhodes in WWE, to finish his story only to end up with The Rock against Roman Reigns. Agree. I cannot agree to that because what you're saying in this instance is that I was rooting for one guy and then a more seasoned, bigger name showed up, because that's what happens, Jesse. Professional wrestling is so ridiculous for this reason. It's a television show with like an ongoing story. It's a saga. So you get invested. It's staged. Yes, as you know now, it's staged.
I know that.
And from week to week, they tell a story with their characters. So you get invested in the story like you would any other show on television. The problem is then they get to their Super Bowl time, which is like WrestleMania, right? It's this time of the year. And then they say, well, screw all of those stories we've been telling for the last year. What big names can we get in here that's going to get the normies to come, the people that don't watch this week to week to come watch it, right? So they've had this ongoing storyline, and now The Rock is basically showing up and being the big name. So in this case, I think it's more like the Diamondbacks were going for Jorge Soler, but instead Albert Pujols is the guy we sign. Like, it's like that, where it's like The Rock is kind of past his prime right now. He has no business coming back to wrestling. It's not like he stops by like John Cena does. John Cena at least pops in every 6 months or a year. It's like, hey guys, I want to wrestle real fast, and then he does it. The Rock has just been gone. So to compare those two, it's not apples to oranges or apples to apples. It would have to be a returning like superstar that was one of the best DHs of all time. But once he got here, things didn't go so.
I mean, Pujols can still hit some lefties, right?
That's what I'm not saying it's a bad choice. I like my selection here. All right, there we go. There's your answer. What else we got, Jacob?
Uno más.
All right. Gabriel asks, the D-backs will make it back to the World Series if.
Oh God.
If that's not an open-ended question, I don't know what is.
My universal answer to a question like this is basically like if the stars align, right? Like that's what it basically takes for an MLB team to get to the World Series and especially to win the thing, right? Yeah. Like just a lot of things have to go right for you It's not just a matter of the talent that you have on your roster. I guess if I was trying to answer more about like, okay, some specific things that maybe would have to go right for the Diamondbacks to like be able to get to that spot in the first place, I think Jordan Lawler having like a monstrous rookie year like Corbin Carroll did, that doesn't get the Diamondbacks to the World Series or get them a World Series win in and of itself, but that would be a huge development for this franchise. You know, not only him becoming that guy, but him becoming that guy in 2024 would be really, really big.
I feel like a couple of things I could say here are cliche, right? Because it's what you could say for a lot of teams. But I truly do feel like if this team, the way it's constructed, this lineup that Jesse talked about a little while ago, can stay healthy, and can
totally
be available throughout the year, not experience major losses to this lineup, then I think they can do special things. But specifically, I really feel like if Eduardo Rodriguez and Brandon Pfaadt can both be what we think they can be, we already know what we're going to get out of Zach Gallen. We know what we're going to get out of Merrill Kelly. If Eduardo Rodriguez can be as good as we hope he can be, if he can be as good as his numbers have been at times in his career, and if Brandon Pfaadt can be that guy again throughout the season that he was in the postseason last year, then this is looking like one of the most formidable starting rotations in baseball. You know? Yeah.
I love Connor's answer to this question. The D-backs will make it back to the World Series if they win the NL pennant again.
I mean, he's not. Is he wrong?
It's
that's
true.
As factual as
that's
you
about
can
as good of an answer as I can come up with. I think speaking to the health thing that you touched on, Ketel Marte staying healthy is going to be a really big thing for the team in 2024. He did for the most part this past year, and he was obviously huge for the Diamondbacks down the stretch and in the playoffs, the NLCS MVP. They're going to need guys to stay healthy, and in particular him, who's had some issues with that in the past.
Well, my computer's dead. You have Notion up on your computer?
Yeah.
Can I have your computer? Because I mean, normally
I wondered why you closed your laptop.
Well,
I was like, is that your way of telling me to shut up and stop talking so we can finish the show?
It's my way of just being like, I don't know what to do now, but I do have some more ad reads to take care of. So I'm very excited to do that. Also, very excited for baseball to start. That's the one most important thing. We do have some merch news, by the way, which I know you guys are very excited for. But before that, make sure to check out our friends at Arizona Lottery. Arizona Lottery right now is introducing a new, unique ticket promotion called Arizona Adventure. They want you to get out and experience some of these wonderful locations that we have out in the wilderness, the places Jesse goes on vacations just to experience places like this. But one way for you to experience Arizona Adventure is you can play Arizona Adventure lottery tickets featuring 3 iconic landscapes, Picacho Peak, Monument Valley, and Camelback Mountain. These tickets have prizes up to $50,000. But you can also check in at geolocated adventures at 10 destinations across the state. You just have to play in their app. From Flagstaff to Yuma, there's a self-guided adventures to 10 iconic Arizona destinations, including Buffalo Park in Flagstaff, Lost Dog Wash at McDowell Sonoran Conservancy in Scottsdale, and more. So make sure to check this out because their promotion right now celebrates state pride and the uniqueness and beauty of Arizona, which, let me tell you, there are some incredible places for you to do a staycation. It's not just Gila River Resorts and casinos, right? There's some incredible spots around town or around the state for you to check out. So make sure that you check out what Arizona Lottery has going on. Visit azadventure.com for more information on how you can take an adventure with Arizona Lottery and for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. Also, another Arizona Valley staple is Arizona Family Sports. You can continue to watch the Suns over at Arizona Family. This Tuesday, they're taking on the Bucks at 8 p.m. Thursday versus the Jazz
big
at
game.
7 p.m.
Big games.
Huge games. Me and Jesse, by the way, this is also a supplementary PHNX Suns podcast, if you guys didn't know that.
Closet Suns podcast.
The fact that they forced me to not comment on Suns is really the criminal part. We have so many thoughts. Make sure to get all of Jesse's very sad tweets about the Suns because he knows really how to do that well. And make sure to check out the Suns.
We should
on
make
Arizona Family Sports.
our supplementary Suns podcast is like diehard only content.
Yeah, and it's just us giving our fan takes on the Suns ball. But
that's what people really want from us, clearly.
Well, and everybody wants to know where they can watch the Diamondbacks next season. We still don't have information on that, but you can watch the Suns in a number of ways over at Arizona Family. On Cox Cable, you got Channel 13. You can use an antenna. You can watch it on Channel 3, 3.5, or Channel 44. I like saying 3.5. It's 3.5, but it's Channel 3.5 here in the Phoenix area. But all sorts of ways, no matter where you are, wherever you live in Arizona, visit azfamily.com and click Suns Games for listing information on your area. AZ Family is a great resource to help you find Phoenix Suns games on Arizona Family Sports. All right. Well, that's all we got. But I do have a fun announcement for those of you that are here in town and have been clamoring for some of the new merchandise because we got word from our guy Tyler that there are indeed spring training hats available right now over at the team shop at Chase Field. You can get these beauties as we speak. They are far bluer than I thought they were going to be, Jesse. They are baby blue.
That's not teal. That's baby blue.
Yeah, I might need to see them. This might be some lighting and stuff in there. But that's a very blue hat.
It gives me the, like, looking at this, it gives me the vibe that it's not even trying to be the Diamondbacks teal. It's just like a baby blue hat.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
Yeah, it's still very cool.
You know what I also don't hate? This other piece of merchandise that they got. Jacob hit him with it. Oh, that's just an official MLB image you can buy of the Kershaw home run, Gabby Moreno pre-bat flip.
I can't believe they're selling this.
This is incredible.
They're selling this at the team shop.
I fucking love this so much.
They're doing Clayton Kershaw like that in the Diamondbacks team shop.
That's an official. Look at it. It's got the little MLB the little logo in the corner. It's everything, Jesse.
It's an official. It is an official print.
I just need it bigger. I need it poster sized. I'll replace the mayor photo if Saul will give me the budget to go buy this and get it framed.
This is
that would be elite. Yeah,
just have a gigantic
that needs to go there for sure.
Yeah,
this is the Gabby Moreno 3-run homer against Clayton Kershaw in the first inning of NLDS Game 1. I would think most people have seen this picture by now, but yeah, if you're joining us on audio, check us out on YouTube, or you can probably just like Google Clayton Kershaw, Gabby Moreno home run or something. And this
another great reason to be a diehard, by the way. You would have got this in the Diamondbacks chat before we even talked about it if you guys were a diehard. So yeah, it's great content, great stuff. I need it, Jesse. I'm gonna hang it over my desk at home.
Yeah, you're gonna have like a life-size version of this at home, I'm sure.
The pettiness is real.
I'm gonna come over and an entire wall is just gonna be painted with this picture.
It's gonna be like this stuff, just a giant covering. Well, we appreciate you guys stopping by. Of course, we will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pitchers and catchers report next week, so we will be out at Salt River Fields for that. But in the meantime, we will be here at 1 p.m. the rest of this week. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. This maniac next to me is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, Faj is on the ones and twos. You can follow him at Jacob_Franklin4. He is the fourth best Jacob Franklin in known existence. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but of course, all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We appreciate you guys stopping by. We thank you so much for your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you're petty.
We all silly like the mayor.